This segment is brought to you by Jig Masters. Step up your game with high-quality performance jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, and more from jigmasters.com. And always, when in doubt, get the jig out.
Welcome to the Feather and Fur segment on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. Join me, Brad Hurlebus, as we sit around the campfire with this week's special guest to talk hunting, dogs, traditions, and all things outdoors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Feather and Fur Podcast. I am Brad Hurlebus, and today we have Nelson Rhyne from Southern Mud Sports and Southern Lite LED, so we're just going to bring him right in.
Hey.
Nelson, appreciate you being on the show, man. I'm real excited for this one.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so I guess we're just going to jump right into it. I mean, you're the owner of Southern Mud Sports and Southern Lite LED, right?
That's correct. Yep.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So it started with Southern Lite LED, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, about 8 years ago.
Oh, so you got some time in.
Yeah, we definitely have.
So I know you guys offer like duck hunting light packages, bow fishing light packages. I think you have some off-road stuff too, right?
That's correct. Yep. Yeah, we started back in doing off-road packages from the beginning pretty much.
All right. So you started in the off-road side. So was that for racing, or is that just for just anybody going out, like UTVs, trucks, that type of thing?
Yeah, it's pretty much off-road.
Got it.
Basically, what we found out in the beginning was Rigid, your big companies like that, were using older technology, keeping it around for several years, and we kind of stepped in there with the, latest and greatest lumen per watt. For your money. So basically what we realized, the big companies weren't providing the latest technology. You were more or less buying a 3 or 4 year old iPhone where we could offer you the latest and greatest iPhone.
Makes sense. You saw a little sliver in that market and you took it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, technology is where it's at. And if you can provide better light for the same price, it's a no brainer.
Yep, exactly. That's what we did.
So was that on the racing side of things then?
No. It started duck hunting. That was our first product was a duck boat light. I'll never forget when we introduced it. It was kind of tried to design it. I used to be a custom home builder, licensed contractor here in the state of Alabama, and we had the 2008. We had the housing market crash, so I started searching for other things to do. With my time, there were no clients, there was no lending, there was absolutely nothing going on. Luckily, we were on the custom side of it, so we didn't have, 50 houses out there sitting that we couldn't sell. So we had the better end of the deal, but still we had to find something to do, provide for my family and such. So started researching. I was a big duck hunter at that time. Had been several instances where certain things happened in, navigating our boats, in Arkansas. That's where I hunt a lot. Spend most of my hunting time, and saw the need that, hey, LEDs are fresh on the market. There's got to be a way to produce a product that, people can run like you run a car without having to hold a handheld spotlight. That was the big thing we did back then, was a manual handheld spotlight.
12-volt cigarette lighter adapter, not even LED, just 1 million candle power.
Yeah, that was it. So yeah, that's what we did, and we basically kind of tested products, and the biggest obstacle was everything was linear. How you drive a vehicle, it's always the same, more or less same plane on a road.
Sure.
And we needed something that would adjust for bow rise, different weight capacities in the boat. So we started testing different lenses and realized that actually running the LED through a lens, you can actually control the projection rather than a typical halogen. They cast it into a reflector and then project it out. So it's kind of totally different concept. Well, a lot of the big companies were doing the opposite.
Sure.
Carrying halogen technology and LED, and it just didn't work. You couldn't control the light as well. So that's where we had to spent a year, 2 year, almost 2 years perfecting a certain light and introduced it, and it absolutely exploded from there.
Nice. It's not. I mean, that's gotta feel great. Like to take the technology that's out there and be like, this is backwards. Like you can control it with the lens, and then completely spin everything 360 degrees and offer something no one else could, and then it takes off. Like that's it right there. I mean, that's the American dream, basically.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you put the time in and definitely have, I guess, your family behind you and everything, and yeah, I mean, you can pretty much do anything.
That's all. That's one of those stories where it's like, it just shows you that, like you said, hard work pays off, right? I mean,
Yep.
It took some ingenuity, and you saw a little market gap where you're like, yeah, I can make this better, and you just ran with it.
Yeah. The waterfowl market in itself is actually a small industry. I mean, if you're in the waterfowl industry, you think it's huge, but really it's, I think maybe 900,000 people. I mean, it's barely 1 million people just that even waterfowl hunt. So compared to deer hunting and the other sports, it's really small, fishing and such. So,
right.
But once we got into it, got to know all the people and, build the trust of people, and they knew they could come to us for the best product. We've kept that reputation through the years, and we've had people, 10 boats down the line that have continued just to keep buying our product.
That's all. I mean, repeat customers, it says everything about it, because it says you have a good product, and then you have to have good customer service, because even if you have a good product and you have a 1% failure rate, if you don't have the customer service to back it, that spreads like wildfire.
It does. Social media nowadays has really eliminated some of the competition, that's for sure. So, it doesn't, we're very, very blessed. We haven't had any bad customers in that aspect. We've really tried. I mean, that's what we try to do. I mean, people slip through the cracks, but that's my number one goal. I preach to all my employees, the customer, I still do 100% of any of the warranty stuff myself, because,
nice.
I want to be hands-on with people that are having the problems, because I've been there. I've been out in the middle of nowhere and not had something work, and I know the frustration, and I know what people spend money for a good product. They expect, the service to be behind that product also. So that's my biggest pet peeve is, I don't really trust anybody dealing with that side of it. I want to deal with it myself that way. I mean, I've called people up on a Sunday afternoon and, tried to work them through stuff, because I know how frustrated they could be at the camp far off, not able to get the tools and all that. So yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve is customer service.
And I mean, that says a lot. I mean, that's reassuring too for anybody that's listening, that's like kind of on the fence. Or I mean, if you have a problem, you're working it out with the owner of the company, he's still that involved. I mean, that says a lot right there, that you're not working with some giant corporation or anything like that. I mean, it's small business, and customer service is first, and which obviously, if you're the one handling all the warranty stuff, it is. That says a ton right there.
Yeah. That's and we plan on keeping that. I mean, as long as I own the company, I'd rather it stay smaller than, grow enormous and lose that customer service base. I mean, I actually enjoy communicating with the customers. I'm, extremely knowledgeable with boats and areas all across the country, to where, I can direct them to a specific product or save them a whole bunch of money, because they really don't need exactly what they were about to buy. So I'm there all the time, hands-on. And I mean, most your best companies in the, outdoor industry or those type companies that, the owner is actually hands-on.
Yep. Still involved, still driving the company, still making not making just big decisions, but there for like the daily small decisions that can make all the difference in how a company operates overall.
Yep. Yeah, we have a bunch invested in it. So, I mean, it's definitely, something. I mean, I kind of consider it my baby, and I just, love to see how it just grows from year to year, and we get to meet new people. I mean, people I never dreamed of meeting, across the country. So it's, I absolutely love it.
So from the duck lights, I know, where did that morph into then? You got your first duck light on the market. Did you carry on with duck hunting still, or did you kind of like morph into different, because I know you have bow fishing lights as well. Like, was that all in progressions?
Well, first we started with a duck boat light, and we released it. I'll never forget. And we released a promo video. YouTube was still kind of, small.
Sure.
And quickly learned, how powerful YouTube can be. Did a video, and man, it just started sharing like crazy, and people started ordering. We had an online site. I mean, we were all new to this. We did everything hands-on.
Sure.
Our website and everything today. I mean, all our graphics, photos, everything we do hands-on ourselves. But anyways, so started that in doing all the duck boating research on diode technology and everything. And I've been in electronics since I was a little kid. I was the one doing everybody's radios and everything in town and
Sure.
their new vehicles and stuff. But started researching that and found some of the biggest companies that were out there were producing an inferior product. I guess not inferior, but it was old technology.
Right.
The lumen per watt barrier is basically for 1 watt how many lumens that diode can produce. Well, about every 6 months that barrier's broken. So a lot of people get confused and compare wattage to how bright something is, and it's exactly opposite. Ours is less watts, but it's actually more lumens per watt. So you're
Sure.
getting less power draw, but brighter light. Well, we started noticing that all the companies kind of just stayed stagnant. They were producing such mass quantities. They had to sell and sell and sell that till they kind of ran out. It wasn't easy for them to rotate their boards and stay up to date with technology. So we started traveling all across the country, doing shows and going face to face to these big off-road stores and everything, and showing them our light bars that we had developed with the diodes and everything. And we would hand them a little bitty 8-inch, I would never forget, but we would hand them an 8-inch, and they're like, what do you want me to do with this? And they would have, a big store with a big, 50-inch curved light
Sure.
bar. And I was like, well, you just go out tonight and you take that 8-inch and then take that 50-inch and you go out and turn them both on. And I said, you'll call me back tomorrow. And sure enough, in the middle of the night, I had people calling me like, what in the world is going on? Like, how are you doing this?
Right. Well, how'd you figure this one out? Like how is this little light putting out more lumens and drawing less power? Like, it's magic? Is there magic in the box?
Yeah. So we basically, explained. I said, well, everything I said and told you today, I said, it's true. I said, you can offer your customers the brightest and guarantee it. They can go out and, show all their friends when they have their huge trucks with all those lights, and they have a little bitty one and theirs is brighter. And that's pretty much what, happened. The dealers saw the return business of everybody coming back in. And then on the other hand, we had, they had the correspondence and questions they could direct straight to the manufacturer rather than dealing with a big box distributor.
Sure.
They really couldn't answer any of their questions. So that's how we kind of got into the off-road side of it also.
Nice. And then that just continued on and kept growing.
Yeah. Yep. Kept getting bigger. Another competitor was real big. I've been a big bow fisherman for many years. Used to do the old Muzzy Classics back when they had them here in Alabama, and now it's absolutely exploded. Tournaments are all over the country.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That kind of
used what bow fishing's become. Like, that's a whole nother market that's just exploding as well.
Yeah. So there were two big leaders, really one big leader in that market, and they kind of dabbled in the duck hunting market a little bit, but I quickly took that over. Well, I kind of sat back and said, well, they kind of, they're doing that. I'll stay focused on the duck hunting and off-road. Well, I started seeing the pattern where they started doing the same thing. Every year, it was the same exact technology. They were not changing anything. So I stepped in there with a product that was, half the size, a quarter of the watts, and it was just blowing their stuff away. So then we quickly, had guides, outfitters all across the country, want our products for our bow fishing also.
And for the people out there that don't bow fish and have never set up a bow fishing boat, watt draw is huge because you're trying to get as many lights on that boat as you can to light up as big of an area as you can. And you're always have some sort of I mean, you're always limited by a generator, or if you're trying to run them on 12 volts, if you're like battery capacity, however you want to set your boat up. I mean, guys, like all the guys I know with bow fishing rigs, they absolutely brag how many watts they got. I mean, that's a big thing for them. So for you to be able to make a brighter light, smaller, and draw less water, I mean, that's huge for those guys.
Yeah, especially the commercial people and stuff that do it, 300 days a year.
Sure.
Going out night after night, and that's kind of really where you can tell the difference is the companies. Anybody can go buy Amazon light or whatever and bolt it on, but it's not going to last. It's not going to be bright. You're not going to see as deep water penetration and pigment in the water, and specific Kelvin of the light is so crucial to penetrating the water. We've done a lot of tests with the professionals and changing a lot of things to get their feedback and actually design a product that we can guarantee it's going to be brighter, it's going to perform better than anything else in the country.
Sure. I mean, and that brings up another valid point. It's not about just how bright it is when you're trying to see in the water. I mean, you got to be able to like you said, penetrate that water. I mean, it doesn't matter what the clarity. I mean, obviously clarity has a fact in how far you can see always. But I mean, if your light's just reflecting off the water and blinding you, it's not helping you.
No, it's hurting you. You can have an extremely bright light, but if it's not the right color, it doesn't make a difference. The other guys go see fish deeper and shoot more fish in any tournament, hands down. And that's kind of what we've done with that. So we, quickly moved into that bow fishing market and, kind of taking it over. You still have your other companies that people are just looking for a bargain, and that's fine. But, they seem to end up coming to us in the end because they just learn, they see a buddy, they get to a tournament and they look over and they're like, holy smokes, I had no clue they were that bright.
Sure.
And customer service too. People have a problem. I mean, I've had people call me and things happen. I mean, we've got failure rates in everything we produce. It's all typically less than 1%. So
sure.
It's extremely small, but, we're there to help them out in the middle of nowhere. If they're in a lake to, get to them. I mean, heck, if anybody shoots me an email, I mean, emails are, a huge thing nowadays, and we're just constantly keeping up with the customers and trying to, if somebody has a big problem, I can just stop what I'm doing and call them because it's, I know how it is to be out on the lake and you can't see.
Right. I mean, and especially if you're in the middle of a tournament or if you're a commercial guy, like what you're saying, or a guide or anything I mean, that's how they make their living on those lights.
Yep. Yeah. My, kind of funny thing is my wife, she'll always be like, it's not, I don't know why you call these people. It's not like it's life or death. And I said, well, it might not be life or death, but I said, I've been there in their situation. And I said, at that time, it kind of is to them. I said, yeah.
I mean, everything's relative, right? And that's it right there. I mean, their world is crumbling around them because their lights didn't turn on and they're getting ready to launch for a tournament. And then to get the phone call from you, I mean, that can change the entire night. Yeah.
And that's what we do. And we'll continue to always do. But yeah, bow fishing has, a tremendous market. We actually supply probably about 10 big boat manufacturers in the country with their bow fishing series lights, some of their bow fishing series boats. And they, everything that they produce has our lights on it. All your big bow fishing, companies that build bow fishing boats.
Sure.
So we stay pretty wrapped up with bow fishing lights, and it's funny because it's actually year round for some reason, but it never is a downtime for bow fishermen.
Well, diversity is good in any business, right? So, to have a good, strong bow fishing market, and then I'm sure you get a pretty big late summer push for duck hunting when people get their new boats and they want to get it set up. And
everyone waits till the last second. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Try to get their boat rigged out. But it seems pretty constant. It seems the boat manufacturers that we supply lights for the duck boats and such, it's pretty steady. Then you have your ATV market, your hog hunting. We make a unique hog hunting light for hog hunting. So the UTVs, electric vehicles and such, that picks up in the spring time when everybody's, kind of in the off season looking for something to do. So it seems to be pretty wide open, at least until duck season, and then I kind of take a break.
That fall is for you. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you do, I know you touched on it. You do most of your hunting in Arkansas then?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a camp out there. Pretty nice place. Had 3 fraternity brothers. We went in and bought it back in the day, and slowly they got married, and their wives somehow pulled them apart from it, and I ended up with the whole thing. So we spend our Christmas and everything out there.
I mean, that works out pretty well. I mean, it was almost like a business partnership, like with a long-term, like interest-free loan for you to get it on your own.
Yeah. It wasn't very hard to convince my wife to buy it because it was, it is my business. I mean, I can't promote my business without actually out there doing all this stuff. And that's kind of one thing I've tried to stay true to. I've had people, hey, you need to do this kind of light, you can make money, this and that. And I kind of always stay true to what I can actually talk to people and explain my product rather than just doing something that's more or less money driven, that there's a market for it. I'd rather, be able to explain every single product and how specifically it can improve their stuff for that particular, use, I guess you could say. So everything that we sell is something that I use, and I test on a regular basis.
Sure. And I mean, that says a lot right there. That, and it makes sense too, because you want to be able to talk to your customers. You want to be like, I ran that first gen light for this many years, and I can tell you, this will be fine. Or that new third gen for what you're looking like, that's awesome. Yeah, this is where you want to be able to have that actual experience on the boat. I'm assuming you hunt timber down there, or is that more like rice field, or
Yeah, I love timber. From the first day 22 years about, I was 18 years old, I set foot in Arkansas timber, and it has, it's something that hooks you. I highly suggest no one ever do it because you will be hooked for life. It is so unique to watch the mallards and to be able to communicate with them. I think field hunting, there's some communication. I do, done fair field hunting all over the country, but when it's in the timber, it's a lot of communication and specific communication with the duck, mallard specifically, to get them to convince them that this is the place they need to land in 30,000 acres of flooded timber. So it's a lot like turkey hunting, and I've always liked turkey hunting. It just kind of started interfering with the job a little too much. So duck hunting was, I quickly migrated to it more. But it's really unbelievable. It's really no way to describe it. Waking up and driving through trees at 30 miles an hour, and jumping logs and, racing people to specific spots. And I mean, it's about as close to NASCAR, I think, as you could get.
That's a great way to wake up in the morning, just full throttle adrenaline rush, trying to not bounce off trees and trying to beat the guy next to you and pick a better line through him even. I mean, that I don't know, it sounds like a real good time, just saying.
Yeah, it's really, it's undescribable. It's an experience everyone should experience. There's no question.
It is definitely on my bucket list, and it's towards the top of the bucket. It's going to happen sooner than some of the other stuff I want to do. That's for sure. I've been dreaming to get down there for more than a few years now.
Yeah, you definitely need to come. It's unbelievable.
And then I've watched is videos from down there. So I know there's a lot of calling that goes on. I didn't realize the communication with timber hunting was as important as what you're saying, because that's the one thing I've always felt like I've lacked with duck hunting up here is the calling. I mean, sometimes it is a big deal. Other times it's just not what it needs to be at all. But with goose hunting in fields up here, calling is everything. I mean, I have conversations with geese. I call based on how they call. I call based on how their wings react. And I've always wanted ducks up here to be the same, and they just never have been. So that makes me even more excited to get down there to actually see like birds responding and actually participating in the calling.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. I mean, you're watching that wing beat and seeing exactly that leading hen and everything. And I mean, on top of that, you don't have a big open sky that you're able to see them. So you're peeking around the tree, trying to see through limbs and follow them through, multiple trees, and read them on top of that. And then you're actually setting them up on a landing zone that you already know the way they like to land. And it's I mean, it's something that takes a lot of experience and a good coach. I mean, I've had a guy that mentored me from the beginning, met us at the boat ramp. I was soaking wet, falling in the water, and he took me back to his house and let me dry my waders and everything out, and actually taught me, I mean, everything I know as far as calling ducks in the flooded timber. He had been doing it for almost 50 years, and he was pretty impressive, and I luckily listened to him because he taught me a lot.
Mentorship's so big. I mean, I try to mentor as much as I can, but no one in my family hunted. I've had a couple of mentors throughout my life, not much in the waterfowl side, and that's probably just because I never clicked with the right group of people for it. I've always kind of done that like a solo, just me and my dog type of thing. I have a couple buddies I'll hunt with for sure, but we all kind of started at the same point, so it was all a lot of trial and error for us. But as I've gotten older, because I took it on later in life, I didn't start until I was 21 or 22, because like I said, no one in my family hunted. I see how important that mentorship is now, and I take veterans out, I take new hunters out, just to give them that experience of, if they never want to do it again, at least they had a good experience. Or if they want to keep doing it, they don't have to do half the trial and error I figured out, where it's like, well, what if we do this? No, trust me, that does not work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get more enjoyment. I've shot enough ducks in my life even as young as I am, but I get more joy out of teaching somebody and getting them to take them out there and just see their face. Cause I remember it vividly my first time, and him taking me, or that guy, my mentor, taking me to his special hole. Things were a lot different then. You could actually have your own hole in the middle of public land, and nobody touched your spot and such. Things have changed a lot now, but
sure,
I just love to take kids, and I've actually got kids that I took when I was, a little bit younger. They're grown now. I mean, they're 20, 25 years old. They're coming up to the same area, and, I'm hunting with them. And I remember when they were 8 years old and I took them in my boat, for the first time. So that's I guess my biggest goal with, anything hunting and fishing and whatever outdoors is, I think it's a dying industry. I know it is. And
it is. And I know on social media, you see a lot of people that are like, quit trying to tell people there's already enough hunters in the marsh, and they just don't see it. Like, they don't see that other than COVID year. If we take out 2020 because of this outdoor boom, it's been falling every single year. License sales have.
Yeah.
It is, and you're right, it is a dying sport.
Yeah. That's what I do. I do YouTubes and I'll do videos and stuff, and I'll share it on social media, and people, it'll show a certain parking lot and this and that. And you got people I know that, well, I can't believe you're doing that. And everybody's talking about me. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, if we don't have anybody else getting in the industry, you just want it all to yourself. And then all of a sudden it's all going to be taken away. I mean,
Right.
The funds have to come from somewhere to keep this, I guess, logical and financially, efficient for the government to keep these public areas. And if it's not financially stable, then it's gone. And it's all because, a bunch of selfish hunters. And I'm exact opposite. And I try to preach that, the more hunters we have, the better. There's no reason. It's, we're all a team, whether you like it or not. And, a bunch of hunters fighting against each other, you hear a lot of nowadays. I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense.
I agree. I mean, there's been a huge fight up here since Wisconsin legalized crossbows during archery season. That's because you have all the archery hunters. Well, that's a gun. That's a gun. It's not. It's a legal weapon, and your fight isn't with the guy using the crossbow. Your fight's with the state for legalizing it. Now that it's legal, if you want to try to change that, that's fine. You can go to legislators. You can do it the proper way. But to argue with the guys that are doing it, or say, "Oh, you're cheating," or "That's not hunting," and push people out of the sport doesn't help our sport. Doesn't help our industry. It doesn't help keep our public lands public from being sold to private corporations because the state needs money.
That's right. Yeah. And that's, I mean, to me, I don't care what you use. I mean, if it gets you out there and you're an extra person buying a license and you're one more supporter for the sport, I don't care what you do. As long as you're out there and you're helping my cause, that's all I care about. So I'm the exact same way.
I agree with that 100%. As long as you're hunting in a legal way, as long as you're not poaching, I mean, as long as you're following the rules, hunting legally, you can use a crossbow, you can use a longbow, compound, but it don't matter to me, at least like for that sake. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you're legal and ethical, I'm good with it. Don't matter to me. It's your hunt. It's your hunt is what it is. It's his hunt, not mine.
Yeah.
I don't tell him what animal to shoot. If you want to take a doe, take a doe. If you want to shoot a hen mallard because you never shot a doe, or if you just want to shoot a hen mallard because you're going to eat it, I don't care. It's your hunt. Yeah. It's legal. It's not my place to tell you you can't shoot a hen. If it's a slow day and that's the only bird you saw, I'm not going to tell you can't shoot that hen. Absolutely not. It's your hunt, man. It's on you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And hopefully one day they'll see it. But yeah, it's definitely a dying sport, and that's my biggest goal is trying to get people involved. I mean, that's a yearly thing. I don't care who you are. I mean, I tell people all the time, just, come on, you got an open invitation. I'd love to take you, because I look back at the people I've taken over the years, and I mean, they become serious waterfowl, hunters. And who knows if I'd have never taken them. I mean, I ain't no telling what they would have ended up doing. But now they're somebody else that, helps the sport. And that's, I mean, whether people like it or not, they're going to realize that's what we need. And I hope we can definitely keep pushing people towards, all the sports. I mean, I don't care what it is. I do pretty much all of them.
I mean, fishing's pretty stable, but I'm sure fishing licenses are down. I mean, I don't keep that track. I mean, there's not as much talk about that one. But I mean, all the aspects of hunting, it's not just waterfowl hunting, it's upland hunting, it's deer hunt, all those numbers are down. So we mentor a couple of people every year, or at least attempt to, and say one of them sticks. They gain confidence, and then they take a couple buddies out that have not. I mean, there is definitely a positive impact with a trickle-down effect that can be had just from mentoring one or two people.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I've seen it firsthand. And it's, I mean, everything in all the sports, I mean, it's changing. It seems government's getting more involved. And if we don't have a bigger community, for everybody to stand up, go to these meetings. I mean, I've seen it in Arkansas. We've been in meetings and, with the state and argued a point, and one where, if we didn't have the community and people in it to stand up for it, then half these people nowadays would just, accept whatever was thrown their way, despite, what's best for, the animal. Because, I mean, ultimately, that's, all I care about. As long as the, the species and everything are growing and surviving and, not decreasing. That's my biggest pet peeve when I go places and I see these animal rights people and such, and they don't understand how much money hunters actually pour into it. I mean, most hunters pour more money into supporting wildlife than anything, and are the first ones that will step in and be like, okay, whoa, we're seeing no more pintail down here. We've got to do something drastically. And I mean, I'm the first one. Hey, I want you to pintail for the next 10 years. That's what it takes. I mean, I understand. I don't care about that. I care more about, the survival of the species. So that's definitely,
I think at the true heart of most, at least of all the hunters I've talked to, at the heart, I mean, we're conservationists to begin with. I mean, we're about land management. We're about making sure there's a healthy herd or healthy population of the species before we even want to consider hunting that species. Because like you said, I don't want to be the guy that shoots the last pintail on Earth. That's not me. I want to be the guy that got enough habitat for them so they bred, and they went from low numbers to, holy cow, there's a population of pintails again. Like that, I want that. Like, I don't want to be the guy like, I shot the last one. No, that's terrible. I want to be the guy that I started their revival.
Yep, absolutely. And that's how most hunters are. I mean, at least mature hunters, I guess you could say. But I think most of them all end up with that reality, that's pretty much more important than anything, than killing anything. It's just making sure, heck, without it, you wouldn't be able to enjoy it. So that's
without the species, without our public lands, like from hunters' numbers with licenses and everything else. That's going to grow. Our sport's going to get small real quick if we can't manage and keep our public land. If we start losing public land because of a loss of numbers, people are complaining now that things are too packed and want less more. Wait till you have half the area to hunt.
Yeah.
You want to see it busy.
Yep. And that's our biggest fight in Arkansas is everyone complaining there's no room to go. We have a WMA we hunt, and it's 30-something thousand acres, and there's about 10 boat ramps, and 99% of the people go to one boat ramp.
Sure.
Well, we always go to one of the other boat ramps and never see anybody.
Sure.
But these people are the same ones doing surveys and everything, saying, and social media saying, too many people hunting, too many this, too many that. And, I'm just like, you don't have to go where the crowd is. If you go where the crowd is, you expect a crowd.
Right. So, exactly.
But yeah, that's everywhere. You got a lot of people that tend to complain and don't see the bigger picture and need more people that are, I guess, maybe enlightening them that, too many people is a good thing. Go help them, tell them somewhere else to go. That's kind of what I do is like, heck, I can't tell you how many times openers and stuff, I see people all crammed at one boat ramp, and I'll drive down through there and be like, why are y'all here? And they're like, man, we're here, this and that. And they know me, and they're like, why are you not in this line and this and that? And I said, I'm never in this line. There's 6 other boat ramps here that are just as good, man. I was like, you don't have to be here in this mess. And they just don't. People aren't educated, and
that they find
help people out.
They find a good spot once, and at least up here, waterfowl takes work. It takes scouting. It takes finding the birds. We have a lot of public land up here. We do, and a lot of boat access. It's not. But you got to put the time in and figure out. Spend a little time doing some scouting up here. Otherwise, that's what it takes.
Yeah. Scouting is number one. You can't.
Right.
You got to be where the ducks are, not where they were last week. So, yeah, firsthand information, the most recent information is, what you have to base everything on as far as finding ducks, deer, or anything.
Agreed.
That's just the way it is.
Agreed. And then I have noticed one thing with mentorship too. You hunt them over a dog. A dog can absolutely change some people's opinions. And I know you have a Drathar, I've got a Grip, so we're both rocking the bearded dogs, which is just its own charm in itself. But upland hunting, waterfowl hunting, some of my favorite memories come from my dog. And then to see let other people see that dog and their excitement, and it just changes a hunt.
Yeah, it does. I was a big anti-dog person far as waterfowl hunting in the timber for a long time. I've been with a lot of dogs that ruined many, many hunts. A lot of people, everybody travels to Arkansas. So you've got people from Florida and all over that are coming and hunting with you. And our biggest rule is, you don't come to the duck woods to train your dog. You train your dog in the 9 months leading up to duck season. You don't bring them and then train them in the woods. And that's where, I guess when I got into it, there were so many dogs yelping and getting shocked and just all kinds of stuff to where it kind of always left me with a bad taste of, dogs ruining hunts. Well, it was never the dog, it was the owner.
Right.
The dog's perfect. The handlers always ruin the dog. But I quickly have recently, I guess, changed my opinions about that.
Now that you have your own dog, and I get it. I mean, and I always recognize, like, my lab was not a great duck dog. He was a phenomenal retriever, but he was super high strung, and it was really hard to keep him steady. He'd get bored. He had ADHD. He did. I mean, but he's what drove me to upland hunt. I mean, I couldn't get him to settle down for duck hunting, but up in those woods chasing grouse, he was just a machine. So I'm like, all right, you don't have to come on every duck hunt. I'll bring you on some because you love it, and I understand. And I'm just, you are what you are, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. I mean, I'm going to do a lot of my duck hunting without you, though, just so I can have a more enjoyable hunt for myself, because I know you're going to drive me bonkers. But like, upland hunting makes up for all of it. Doesn't matter.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of what drew me to Drathar, was I guess the breeding. You get so many labs, and most of my bad experiences were with labs. I mean, the breeding is all over the place. I know there's some good breeding, but to me, the good breeding is just not very cost effective in anybody's wallet for the most part. And you can even get good breeding and it still be bad. But the Drathars and I guess the Griffs and everything being German, and I actually just found this out. I didn't realize that Drathars are a quarter Griff. I did not know that until I talked to another guy recently, but they do have a lot of Griff in them. And
I'm pretty. Don't quote me, but I think back in the day when they were trying to bring the Griff bead back to what it was, I'm pretty sure they introduced them to Thrauder the Griff as well. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. Was it Korth? I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure they reintroduced to bring some of those traits from the Drathar into the Griff as well.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. But getting that type of dog, it's a totally different animal. I mean, I've watched people, hand signals and everything perfect with labs, and labs are more, to me, followers.
Sure.
You're not going to tell my dog what to do ever. I mean, he's going to go get that bird, and he knows what he's doing. I mean, he listens, he's steady and all that. Right. He doesn't drop a bird or anything, but when he sees it fall, you better just give him his time, because he's going to come back with it. He knows where it is a whole lot better than I do.
Sure.
And he has made some unbelievable retrieves in the timber. I mean, 400 or 500 yards just through the middle of the woods, swimming the whole time.
And that's got to be hard for tracking too. I mean, that's where I can really see that. I mean, my lab had a great nose too. I'm not talking anything against labs, but like, you get that versatile breed and whatnot. Like for them, I mean, the duck is swimming away sometimes, right? I mean, sometimes you get a wounded duck that swims away. Kind of hard to track in water. Water doesn't really retain scent real much.
No. And from what I know, a duck in itself is almost scentless.
Sure.
They hold extremely very little scent, like any other animal. So yeah, it's unbelievable. But he was, mine was definitely built to sniff them out, because I can't really think of many that he's ever let get away, live or dead.
Then you have a little stubbornness in them too, I'm sure, because I mean, she's extremely intelligent, but to the point like almost stubborn, but not stubborn, because you can't treat her like a stubborn dog, because she's not a stubborn dog. She's a soft dog at the end of the day. But she's smart and intelligent to the point where she's like, no, that's not how we're going to do this. But it's like, no, this is how we need to do this. So you're not being stubborn, but you're not listening.
Yep, they are stubborn. That's a fact. But at the end of the day, they want to do their thing. They want to please you, but they're going to do it their way, or at least try to do it their way.
Agreed.
And most of the time, mine proves me wrong. I should have just listened to him, especially tracking deer and stuff like that, where I'm like, there's no way that deer went that way. Deer's over here. What are you doing? You're on another deer, and I should have just let him go, because he knew exactly where he was going.
I've been in that situation more times than I can count, where now I still don't do it. I tell myself every time I go out, like especially grouse hunting, I'm like, there's not a grouse over there. That's like not the right cover. What are you doing over there? Come this way. And all of a sudden, like, she'll bump the bird, or my lab would have flushed the bird, and I've been like, and she'll bump the bird because I'm telling her to go a different way. And then she just kind of looks at me and goes, there went the bird. And I'm like, well, I was wrong. You were right. What do you want me to do?
Yep. That's it. Exactly.
You make me humble. I get it.
Yep. Yeah, they're definitely smarter than us.
I just there's something the dog can make a hunt special, and I think that's kind of like it leads into like our whole conversation too. Like, as a hunter, you progress, right? When I first started hunting, I wanted to like get birds into the like decoy range was my first goal, right? And then decoys range went to I want to start landing birds to now I want to start shooting limits of bird, and then that kind of changed too. Now it's like now I want to get my dog, like now I want to have some really good retreat. Like, it doesn't matter how many birds I shoot. Now I want to, like, now it's about the dog, and now it's also about that mentorship. And like, I think that's just kind of a progression I took, which I hear a lot of people have as they've matured through hunting.
Right. Yeah. Same with me. All I care is watch other people have fun. I get a lot behind the camera now. That's real satisfying because it's a whole lot harder to shoot them in flooded timber with a camera than it is with a gun. That's a fact. You're dealing with light, low light, something moving by, 60 miles an hour, and people shooting all at the same time. And so shooting down, then getting the dog working and handling the dog and all that. So it's, I enjoy that a lot more nowadays than, just getting out there and shooting. Sometimes I have to pick up the gun if shooting birds in the flooded timber is a lot different. Everybody leads birds, it's probably similar to y'all shooting grouse. Y'all shoot them so close and up in your face. You pretty much put the bead on them and pull the trigger. If you're doing any kind of leading, at least in our down there, you're going to miss the bird. You're going to shoot in front of it because they're that close to you.
Makes sense.
You're literally just aiming, which is, not what you're taught and you learn with a shotgun. So it's a lot different. So sometimes people can't pick that up as quick. And, after we've landed 2 or 3 flocks and we have one bird, I'll have to be like, you run the camera and let me get some birds in the bag so we can get out of here.
My dog's not gonna be real happy with one retrieve and this many shots. Y'all got to pick it up or let me do some shooting. Like, this ain't gonna work for my dog.
Yeah, he hears 8 shots go off and nothing's on the ground. He can pitch a fit. You can hear him in some of our videos.
That's awesome.
He does not. He's not very happy.
That's funny though. All nice and quiet when everything's good. You start missing a lot of shots and he starts talking back like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, he can definitely do some whining and squealing.
That's great. That's just awesome. Well, yeah. I know we didn't touch base on this, but we'll touch base. I know you started another company that not based off something, but you have Southern Mud Sports.
Yeah. So basically, we started Southern Mud Sports. We were kind of met a lot of boat manufacturers through selling our lights and everything, and Gator Tail Outboards offered us, to where we could do a dealership, the big mud motor company down in Louisiana, and definitely couldn't pass that up. Their dealers are pretty scarce, and it's very hard to get on with them or at least be trusted to sell their product. So,
from my experience with them, they've been great. I have a 2016 37 horse. My experience with them has been. I bought it used. I bought it this spring. I sold my bass boat to get back into a real duck boat because I've been kayak duck hunting forever, and I still will. I run a small mud motor on a kayak as well. But I wanted to get out of the bass boat and get back into a bigger boat, do some mother shipping with the kayak, just open up more areas. And they've been phenomenal to deal with. I called and asked them some questions about props. I called and asked them some questions about other things, some concerns I had. And they've been phenomenal with me. Like, everyone I've talked to on the phone has just been extremely knowledgeable, and they answer their phone.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. And I know Kyle, the owner, very well. And he's the same way. He said, you find another mud motor company that the owner's here every single day of the week dealing with every single problem that's going on, firsthand. And that's him. And it shows with their company that, and just everything they do is just absolutely top notch. And so we got offered that, and
I was gonna say that just fits in lines like with your company's morals. I mean, the owner's there taking care of problems. Same with you. I mean, it's a real great company to partnership when you're both on the same plane for customer service.
Yeah, and a lot and everything we sell, as far as even the electric buggies and stuff for deer hunting, was all companies I knew the owners, known them for several years. Um, it's in line with exactly what I do. I run their stuff. I try to tear it up. It's the same
Sure.
quality my products are. So essentially, I've more or less started a new company selling other companies' products. Similar to my products that we produce ourselves. And it's worked out real great. And these are products, I've tested for many years before I even decided to sell them, and promote them. And we kind of put our spin or our twist on the products with lights and stereos and every little niche or thing I've learned over the years that can, make a duck boat better. We incorporate in them, and, highly recommend these, us doing a boat a specific way, because it's going to perform, and we can guarantee it's going to perform because, we're out there with them.
Right.
We run them, been testing them for years before, we build them that way.
And I mean, that makes sense because someone could call you up and be like, "This is how here." Like, give you a call. Here's my style of hunting. How would you set this boat up for me? I hunt a lot of marsh, or I hunt timber. Like, how would you set the boat up so it's going to be functional for me, and go off that experience and the torture testing you've done to have a package designed basically that's going to perform exactly how they want when they get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've hunted Minnesota marsh, Canada, all over. I mean, Louisiana, coastal and stuff. And, I can tell somebody, hey, you don't need that. You're on the, I don't know who told you that. I'll give them my strong opinion because I know,
Sure.
what works. And, if they still want to stay on their path, and I just, let them make their own choice and get what they
Right.
want. But, I'm pretty strong opinion on what somebody should need because, I've done it for a long time, and I've heard so many stories through my other company being in the waterfowl industry that I can just tell you so many experiences of why you don't want to get that boat or do that thing with that boat and that motor with this. And so,
Sure.
I kind of enjoy that business also because it's, more or less a hands-on type thing with using experience that I've gained over the years.
And it goes kind of back. It kind of goes back to your custom home design too, because now I mean it's obviously not homes, but I mean you're back into that custom aspect where you're like, we can design this. Like, what do you want it to do? Like, and we'll make it. You're not building boats obviously, but you're helping someone pair the right motor with the right hull and then the right accessories and making this custom boat. Like, it's not just something you're going to go out a box store and buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have a lot of people. I mean, you've got custom boat manufacturers across the country that, I mean, they charge unbelievable astronomical amounts for boats, and people just can't afford it. And there's other boats that perform better for the most part as far as hull design and performance. They're just lacking the, I guess, extra stuff, ling nap or whatever that, the big custom boat manufacturers do. And we're able to bring those customers and get them into something more affordable and bring it to the same finishes and extras that the other ones have for, a whole lot less of price. And it's going to perform better in pretty much every situation for what they need for a more affordable price.
Makes sense, because you're taking the best of what you can in the industry and combining it to make what is the best option, basically. I mean, custom boats are great. I mean, they are. I'm not going to talk bad about it, but like you said, a different hull design for one person might work completely better, and that manufacturer might not even make a hull that way.
Yeah. Yep. And that's kind of why we have several different brands. We do Gator Tail, Edge, and Havoc, and they kind of, between those brands, anything duck hunting, almost we can find something that's going to fit you perfectly.
Sure.
So, and those are
all three well-known, battle-tested boats.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're the top of the top, and I've ran them and tried to tear them up, and I know the owners of every company very well, and I know, more or less their business model and what they're plans are, and customer service is on the top of, all their minds on all that. So that's, why I choose to offer those products, as our, I guess, line up in that business.
Sure. Makes sense. And then I'm sure you're putting all Southern Lite LEDs in them. I mean, it's not like you'd use another company than that one, right?
Yep. We don't install anything else. So they have to do that at home if they want something else.
That's awesome.
But most people are very, very happy to realize that, they're getting Southern Lite LED on their boats. And,
sure,
you get a little bit of price break since we know the people that make them.
Right.
And,
right.
So
you're not quite buying from the manufacturer, but you're pretty much you're kind of like stealing from them almost.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we stole their design, but so the customers are real happy because they're, getting an unbelievable product. I mean, you can go on our YouTube and see some of the Southern Mud Sports, or Instagram and see some of the crazy builds we've done and everything on duck boats that they don't look anything like they did originally when we got our hands on them.
That's awesome. I mean, just making something custom, exactly what the person needs. I mean, that's just, and to a lot of people, that's going to be their forever boat too.
Yeah.
Unless if their hunting style completely changes or they move. I mean, but you go to the point where you're like, I'm not going to take just a factory hull. I'm going to have you help me figure out which is the best hull, and then we're going to make it even better by making it exactly what I need for how I hunt. I mean, that's probably their forever boat.
Yeah, and that's one of my biggest questions, is asking people, hey, are you going to keep this boat for a year or two and sell it and, and get something else? Or, and a lot of people are like, no, this is like it. And I'm like, okay, well, if this is it, this is really what you need. It might be $2,000 more, but I'm telling you, I know, and this is exactly what you're going to want in the end. So you might as well go ahead and get this rather than cutting it cheap, since you plan on keeping this. But then you get people that are, I don't know, I might keep it a year or two, and, kind of doesn't really matter because, they're constantly changing and moving and stuff like that. So,
and at that point, you might not want to get too custom if you're going to be flipping your boat every 2 to 3 years, because if you get too custom, it gets to the point where it's hard to sell it, because now you're looking for someone that's going to hunt basically like you do and want the setup you have.
Right. And that's what I ask them. So, you don't need this, you don't need to do all this fancy stuff with it, specific jack plate and all that, because you aren't even going to have it long enough to really see the advantages of doing all that extra stuff to it. So, yeah, I mean,
sure.
It's not worth them wasting that money on all that stuff.
Makes sense. That sounds real. I mean, it's got to be fun. Back when right after high school, I was in automotive accessories. So like alarms, remote starts, custom car stereos, sunroofs, leather, all that type of like just your random automotive accessories and whatnot. And it's always fun to put together something like where they're like, this is kind of what I want. And you kind of show them your options and like, this was going to work better with that. And by the time it's all said and done, you basically built like this custom car to a degree. And it's like, that's awesome, because like when they see it, they have like eyes light up and they're like, this, like my dream is now like a reality. And that's just awesome to provide for someone. That's a great feeling.
Yeah, it is. We have a shop, it's pitch black, and we turn everything off and walk them in and then hit all the lights and then stereo and all that. And they are just, I mean, every person, it's better than they imagined it would be. So yeah, it's kind of reminds me, I guess, back in the day of the, was it Overhauled show, that old show with the cars?
Yep, I remember that.
Very similar to that. So yeah, it's, I guess they kind of took old stuff and made it new again, but
sure.
Yeah, it's really cool how we do it for our customers, and then give them something, they've been dreaming about for several months, and they finally get to see it. So it's real cool. And then on most instances, we'll take them out and go run it with them and teach them and, show them how to do certain things, because mud motors to a lot of people are, just foreign. I mean, they don't have a clue. And there's a lot of do's and don'ts and dangers and things like that
sure
they need to know. So we usually take each of them out and run them through it, one of our nearby lakes, and go over it and make sure they're comfortable with it and not going to get out there and hurt themselves.
That's just the next level of customer service, right? Like you build the boat for them, then they're like, hey, we'll teach you how to use it. So you're safe, so you're comfortable. So when you get home, you're not sitting there on YouTube like, how do you start this thing again?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Definitely.
you can look at it like, oh, it's just a lawnmower on a prop. I mean, but it's not. I mean, it's nothing like that at all.
No, it's not. It's a whole lot of something. And yeah, they're a tough machine. Those gator tail motors are just undescribable what they can do. I call them 4-wheel drive boats.
Sure. It's pretty accurate. I mean, but how shallow you can get, how thick you can get. I mean, everything has a limitation, right? What those do compared to a normal outboard is it's mind blowing the first time you're ever in one.
Yeah, it is. I've made a lot of people believers running in my boats during duck season.
So I run a sandy river a lot, and like with any other sandy river, sandbars change, everything changes, and my wife still gets blown away because the river's clear too, so you can see the bottom, and I'll know it's shallow, but we'll be fine. And she looks down, and we're like in the inches of water, and she's like, I can touch the sand if I want to. I'm like, yeah, we're just not stopping.
Yeah,
We just can't stop. We're just gonna keep going. And she knows if I'm like, hold on, and she's like, okay, we're going.
yeah. It's no turning back. You got to get to that deep hole in those sandy rivers before you
Yep.
stop.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I know this is gonna be sandy. This is the way we're going, and it's gonna be shallow, but it's good after that. We're just going right through it. We're not stopping.
Yep, that's it. You stop in that sand, your prop disappears and quick. That
Oh yeah.
sand will eat a prop up in no time.
Yeah, that is rough on the river. Right? Yeah, I mean, it's like sandblasting the prop constantly every time, and even the amount of sand just floating in the river. Like you go swimming. I mean, it's clean water. You go swimming in it, but like you get out, you feel sandy because there's just so much sand. So I go through props probably probably faster than most, I'd say.
Yeah, I try to stay out. I do some sand, but I definitely try to stay out of it because I have, oh my goodness, 30 minutes to an hour destroyed props. Just
Sure.
thinking I could take off in it like mud, but it's a totally different animal.
Yeah, I'm real careful with that, but I mean, just running clean water, it's got so much sand sediment in it. I mean, those props are tough. I mean, they're tough, but it wears. That sand is abrasive.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So I try to stay I stay in mostly mud and hard bottom stuff. I don't spend much time in sand unless we're fishing specific areas or something.
Sure. I mean, and the Sandy River I run leads back to marshes and different backwaters, and actually some little bit of flooded timber I do have around me with how that river level changes, and it's like that's where I want to hunt. So I just bite the bullet and run some sandy rivers to get there.
Oh yeah, yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do.
And that's, I mean, you can run a prop on a jack plate where I am. I mean, you can, but then you worry about running in weeds and backwaters. And I talked to a good buddy who guides for flag fishing, and he's like, you don't want to jet because I have problems in fall with floating leaves on this. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna go back to the tried and true.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've in our lodge we've got outboards and mud motors, and I think last year 70 days I maybe ran the outboard 4 days, and the rest of the 70 days was straight mud motor.
Sure.
I mean, it's got some, it's speed impaired and slower, but there's nothing better than just being able to just run wide open and not stop and run over anything, jump
Right.
levees and all that. So it's definitely more advantages I found out over the years than disadvantages. That's for sure.
I mean, speed can play a role, especially for you guys down there. A little less for me, but that's when it really came down to it. I'm like, I want a motor, like you said, that's 4-wheel drive. It's going to get me through the grass. It's going to get me through the mud. It's going to get me through the sandbars and everything else I need to get through. I don't want to have to. I mean, yes, it's going to be a little slower, but I don't have to worry about that outboard. I don't have to worry about blowing up impellers and changing impellers constantly and overheating the stupid thing. Like, yeah, so I can get there 10 minutes faster. But what when I don't get there 10 minutes faster because I didn't get there at all because the thing's all bound up with weeds and mud?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I found out too. We come off a river and then hit shallow chutes and stuff like that. And I used to have 50, 60 mile an hour outboards, and you could fly and beat people to places. But when I started having people, when I got to the shallow and I had to slow down, here they come like the slow turtle
Right.
finally starts passing me when I'm idling down the shallow water.
Right.
I quickly realized that you can go as fast as you want, but in the end, they're still going to be able to beat you when you hit that shallow stuff and, get to the spot. And so that's when I really, really had to make the switch over from an outboard to a mud motor.
And it's a good switch. I mean, it's not for everyone, right? I mean, but I really don't know unless you're hunting big water, big open water, then yeah, I get it. Outboard's a good,
Yeah,
hands down, no questions, right? But for the average duck hunter, I don't know how you beat it with it. I don't know how you do it.
Mm-mm. And that's another reason why. I mean, when I saw what you could do with a gator tail and 3 to 4 years running one, and just how indestructible they were and everything, I said, and then they offered it, to be able to sell them. I said, every single duck hunter in this country is going to end up having one. I was like, I might as well be the guy selling it to them because
Right.
I'm a strong a believer as there is for it. So yeah, it's something every duck hunter, I think you'll end up going to, whether you like it or not.
I agree. I agree 100%. Well, I really appreciate you being on, man. I think it's been great. I mean, let's start with the show's yours right now. Who do you want to thank? Anybody? I'm sure you got tons of people you want to thank that's got you where you are.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Lord Jesus Christ. I mean, without him, I can promise you none of this would have been possible. Heck, I'm a cancer survivor. He brought me through that, and got three kids, sons, and beautiful wife, and couldn't have done it without them. I would say my wife's probably the manager of the business.
Sure.
I'm just the face of it. She definitely is the one that pretty much runs everything, and pretty much give her all the credit for the success, because I know definitely without her, there's no way it would have ever made it into what it is today. She's the silent person in the background, that's for sure.
With the most important role, right?
Yep, that's right. And yeah, a lot of great customers. I mean, goodness, all the shows and stuff we've done across the country, and the people we've met, and the support, and people sharing our business and supporting us and all that. And I mean, our customer base is, the best. They've really been, I guess, helpful and patient with us. I mean, we've had hard times and gone through some struggles with certain products, and they've helped us make it better and stuck with us until we got it
Sure.
right and stuff like that. So we've got extremely patient customers that they want the good stuff. So they've especially through this COVID mess. I mean, it's
hard
getting the materials and stuff we need. I mean, we just sent an order out today that the customer, it was actually a dealer. I mean, a friend of mine, hunted with them before. We actually take most of our dealers duck hunting if they want to come. So I get to know them on a personal basis.
Sure.
But he ordered his order in December, and we shipped it today. So that's extreme patience. So without our wonderful dealers.
I mean, I'm not in the outdoor industry, but I do handle the purchasing for all the company I work for, and it's a constant daily grind and struggle to try to get material, foreign or domestic right now. It doesn't matter. I mean, it is a grind, and the amount of hours that goes in right now for anybody in any industry trying to receive material and procure material. I mean, it's a daily grind trying to just get stuff figured out.
Yep. Yeah. And our employees are second to none. I mean, if you call in and talk to them, you'll see. I mean, they'll bend over backwards to help you and all that. And, they're all firm believer in, our customer service, and, we wouldn't be where we were without it. So definitely appreciate all our employees that definitely wouldn't be anything without them.
Sure. And then how can we find you? Social media? I know you're on social media, so.
Yeah, southernliteled.com and southernmud.com. Southern Lights like Miller Lite, Lite, but
Okay.
southernliteled.com. Just Google search them. They'll come up. YouTube videos. We got some pretty cool if you're a big duck hunter and bow fisherman. We've got some good, duck hunting videos and everything on both those pages. So definitely can check those out.
I've seen some of the videos. I mean, the ones that catch my eye are you running some timber with a dog and the tail just wagging, the ears just flapping. I mean, some of those are just great.
Yeah. Trying to get him to sit beside you while you're running timber is impossible. He will be up on the bow, just looking for anything that's going to jump up.
Mine doesn't ride up on the bow, but she'll sit there right behind the bow and she'll just have her head up in the wind and her ears are just a little flapping around. And she's just, I mean, that's her happy place. Running in that boat with the wind in her face, that is her happy place for sure.
Yep, definitely.
And then you're on Instagram, Southern Lite LED and Southern Mud Sports, correct?
Yep, that's correct. Southern Mud Sports and Southern Lite LED.
Facebook as well, I'm assuming.
Yep, same on Facebook, YouTube. That's about it. We're not doing any tweets or any of that stuff.
I'm not part of that. I'm not on Pinterest either.
Yeah, no Pinterest or what's the big one? TikTok. We're not getting into any TikTok, even though everyone tells me we'll be huge on TikTok. I'm staying out of that.
Yeah, I haven't jumped onto that ship either yet. I've been playing with Instagram Reels here and there, and those things can be so hit or miss sometimes. It's like one day you get it, and like one day it's like you have this explosive reel, and it's like, yes, and then the next day it's like no one saw one. It's like, what happened here? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it used to be a lot different. The game has changed. I do not understand it. I think they're suppressing a lot of the hunters.
Maybe that's it. I mean, maybe I'll have to come back and take a look at some of my videos to see which ones are doing better. Maybe that's it. Maybe the algorithm. Maybe I got to figure out how to get around the algorithm. Maybe.
Yeah. Put you love animals or something. I don't know. Well, it was great. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Everyone else, thanks for listening. As always, I can't do this without you, all you guys. And until next time, peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com